Hey gang, Sally here. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. How about you, Kit? Are you having an amazing and fascinating day? Do you want to come say hi to the people? There we go. There's the Kitster. Say hi to the people. They're in there. They're all in there, Kit. Can you say hi? Yeah. You're such a good boy. Such a good boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay, sorry about that. I'm very attached to him. Can you tell? So I wanted to check in on a couple of things with you guys today, and one of them is this whole concept around decluttering, because a lot of people think that once you've downsized and you've gone on the road, that's it, that's the end of it. It's not the end of it. Everything, for me at least, is always in a state of flux. Thing is just one color, because I've got a bunch of these shirts in different colors, and unfortunately, half of them are red. So when you see me wearing a red tank shirt, it's not always exactly the same red tank shirt. Just saying. But they're exactly the same cut. It's like when I find something that I like, okay, I just buy multiple pieces of it. Same thing with my shorts. I have two different colors. I got black and I got blue. But I'm seriously consideration just going like solid black shorts, one color shirt, and it simplifies things so much. And that's the principle behind decluttering. Decluttering introduces more simplicity and less complexity into your life. And for me, one of the things that I've discovered from being on the road full time is that, especially with what I'm doing with traveling in the East now, there's a fair amount of complexity in getting through the day. And today's a great example of it. Today, I was in a campground last night, the last night that Maryland state parks were open for overnight camping. And I did it for a couple of different reasons. One of which was it was going to be below freezing last night, and I knew I could get an electric site, and that meant I could run my electric portable heater all night long instead of running off propane. And it also meant that I could get my batteries fully charged, and and just be able to sit and be still. So that was all good. And I got up this morning, and I was in no hurry to leave because I didn't actually have to check out until 1 o'clock. But there was something that I wanted to go do today, which was go to the, I think it's called the Chesapeake Beach Railway Museum. And I thought I looked at this carefully enough on online on Google Maps satellite view that I was going to be able to park there. When I finally got there, I couldn't park. But here's the thing. I pulled out of the campground at about 10:45 in the morning, and I didn't get to Chesapeake Beach Railway Museum until after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was only an hour's drive. So what happened in between there, you might ask? Well, what happened was I needed to get fuel for the rig, and I needed to get propane, and just finding things and being able to do those things. And propane's a great example. In this case, I called 4 different places to try and get propane. And this is a great tip for you, by the way. You can get propane usually at Tractor Supply often, but not always. In fact, not all that often in the East at U-Haul. But you can, and a lot of hardware stores do it too. But you can also most times go directly to a propane supplier, somebody that's supplying propane to people in their homes, and they will usually have a tank at their facility where they will fill up motorhomes and they'll refill portable tanks and so forth. So I called 4 different places like that, and you can't. Now I have not been able to get through to a U-Haul site at all. I've tried calling a couple of different times. You go through their whole voicemail system, and they tell you all about how you should use their app instead of calling, and it's nonsense, quite frankly. But at the end of all of their voice menu system, they say, oh, no one's available to speak with you right now at the particular location that you're calling. So we'll transfer you to one of our nationwide call center people, and they'll be able to help you. Well, no, they can't. They can't help you. They can't tell you anything about propane filling at that particular location. So it's really frustrating. I've tried that a couple of times. I've just given up. But I was going to go to U-Haul because it was along my route and it looked to be a really big facility. And I'm thinking, all right, well, they should be able to fill propane there. And when I finally got there, I pulled in and I'm looking for a propane tank and I'm not seeing one. And there was a guy who was airing up tires in the return lane for trucks that were coming back in. So I pulled up next to him and I asked about it. He said, oh, no, we do exchanges. We don't actually fill. And that seems to be what happens most often in the East since I've been in the East. So it's been really frustrating. I had already called 3 different propane suppliers before I ever decided, all right, fine, just do the U-Haul. Because the 3 suppliers I called said, no, we don't fill tanks on motorhomes. And so then I said to the guy, I said, look, I got to figure something out. Can I just pull over here and park for a few minutes while I get this figured out? And so I did. And I found a propane supplier with initials that I can't remember offhand. But they were super, super nice. And in fact, one of the gals there subscribed to the channel while I was there. So that's really cool. Please leave a comment down below and let me know what your name was, because I really enjoyed my interactions with you. So I called them up and they said, yeah, when you come here, just come into the office first and then we'll get you filled up. And we did that. Super cool. So I got the propane taken care of and I got fuel. But as I said, by the time I got to the Railway Museum, it was going on 2 o'clock and I hadn't actually accomplished anything that I wanted to for the day. And then to find out that I couldn't park there was, kind of frustrating. So then it's like, all right, so what do I want to do? Do I want to head for a Walmart? I had picked another location, but based on what I had been seeing around the Chesapeake Beach location, my thoughts were the location that I had picked was probably not actually going to be available to me. So I gave up. And I just went on, I went on to the next phase of, all right, what's going to be the next thing? And I was sitting there in Chesapeake Beach in front of somebody's house, actually, because I just pulled over on the side of the street. And I pulled up the Walmart where I am now. I'm a little bit concerned because it is very clearly posted no unauthorized vehicles overnight. I'm hoping it's going to be okay. There are a couple other people parked in the parking lot, although it looks like several of them have left. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I had this happen about a week or so ago. I was in a Walmart in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. And I'd been there for a few hours. I'd had dinner. I was just getting ready to sit down and watch TV, and I got a knock on the door from the security guard. And he said, well, you can't stay here more than an hour. I said, no, I don't know that. How would I know that? Oh, because I'm telling you. He said, I know you've been here for a few hours already, but, I didn't want to kick you out too soon. Well, instead, he's waiting until like 5:30 in the afternoon. Please, it would have been better if you had kicked me out several hours earlier so I wasn't going to have to be finding a place in the dark. So I ended up having to find a different location to stay that night. I hope that doesn't happen again this evening, because I haven't prepared anything. Probably should, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna hope everything is fine. So I had about another hour's drive from Chesapeake Beach to the Walmart that I'm currently parked in. So back to downsizing. How's this work? Well, here's the deal. It is just like being in a house. It is really easy to bring in stuff and never think about getting rid of stuff. And recently, I went through and I got rid of quite a bit of stuff. I had some clothes that I had been holding on to. You know how we all do? Oh, it doesn't fit right now, but I'll probably get back down to that size. I probably won't. And even if I do, my decision is I'll just be replacing those clothes if that's what I need to do. So that's one aspect of it. And then there's things like kitchen utensils. I'm really getting very close to purging my kitchen utensil drawer because I have a lot of stuff that I really don't use. And a lot of it I brought along, just in case. And I've already gotten rid of all kinds of things. I used to have a full set of pots and pans, like 3 different sizes of saucepans, and I think 3 or 4 different sizes of frying pans and that kind of thing, and a big like Dutch oven size stainless steel pot. And I don't have any of that stuff anymore. I have a 2-quart saucepan and a 10-inch fry pan, an Instant Pot, and an air fryer. And those are my, and the waffle makers. Those are my main cooking appliances. That's how I cook. That's what I cook in. And all of that has been absolutely fine. The problem with a smaller RV, as I have, and I know a lot of people think this isn't small, but it is by most standards, the issue is there's not a real ton of storage space, and I have never been one that wants to live with clutter. So I'm pretty neat in general. I have a tendency to put things away as I use them. I don't let stuff stay out and lay around all the time. And then, in fact, that's part of the reason that I ended up adding the 2 storage bins on what was the spare bed, because then I could put stuff in the storage bins and I didn't see stuff sitting out, because that was making me kind of crazy. All right, well, the truck that was parked here is just pulling out. That's slightly nervous making. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, I'm sure. But I'm going to also say that I have watched videos from other people and they talk about decluttering and they talk about how difficult it is. So I wanted to address a couple of those things and what I went through when I was going through that process before I got rid of the house, got rid of all my stuff. And I didn't do that, by the way, for those of you that are new to the channel. I did not get rid of everything I owned until I'd already been on the road for 2.5 years. Now, some people choose to, oh, that's weird. My GoPro just turned on. Some people choose to get a storage unit. And frankly, I think that's a really bad idea. And some people choose to do that and they say, oh, I just can't bear to get rid of whatever this thing is or this group of things. And, because I don't want to spend the money to replace it. So what I'm going to suggest to you is get out your calculator. When you find out how much a storage unit costs, how long can you keep that storage unit before it would have been cheaper to replace what you're putting in it? And the answer is probably not all that long, quite frankly. So consider checking that out and making that calculation. Let's go back to more simplicity and less complexity. If you're managing a storage unit, and I realize that they don't need much in the way of management, but you still got a bill you got to pay. But if you're managing a storage unit, that's more complexity. It's one more thing in your life that you got to pay attention to that you may not have wanted to. The more complex things that you can get rid of, whether it's just getting rid of the stuff itself or whether it's getting rid of extraneous bills, the easier your life becomes. The less you have to be concerned about, the less you have to think about. And I think it's also a really good idea to ask yourself some questions around the things that you think you can't bear to get rid of. As in, what's important about this particular thing to me that I need to keep it? Let's talk about photographs, for example. Some people, not very many, some people actually do like to go back and look through their physical photographs. In my experience with people that I have talked to, and certainly with my own personal experience, when I had all the physical photographs, I rarely went through them. Now, I don't know how Android does it, but here's how iPhone does it, and I love it. Apple Photos, I just love this. As the iterations have gone through time, it gets smarter and smarter and smarter. So now, for example, if I want to see pictures that have dogs in them, all I have to do is type dogs in the search bar, or dog, and I'll see every picture that's in my photos that has a dog in it. And I've got over 60,000 photos in Apple Photos, so photos and videos. So it's searching through a lot of stuff and it does it really quickly. But I love that. Here's another example. It is now searching text in photos. So I can't remember what the example was. I'm going to make up an example. But I was doing this a week or so ago when I was working on a video, and I was looking for a particular photo, but I couldn't remember exactly when I had been at this location. But I knew that I was looking for a particular thing. So let's say, for example, I just did this video recently, although this is not the one that I was looking for. I typed in train. And in this case, I did the video recently with the Ashtabula train disaster, and it would bring up the picture that I had taken of the monument plaque that included the word train, in addition to a whole bunch of other things, including pictures of trains, of which I have many because I worked in the railcar business for like 25 years. So I got a lot of pictures of trains. But that kind of thing has been just so useful, and in fact, much more useful to me than simply having photos stored in albums or shoeboxes or whatever, because it's really hard to keep that stuff organized. I mean, I always did it nothing but chronologically. That's how I always kept my photos. But I got rid of all of my photos all my physical photos, almost all of them, that I had in 2017 when my divorce was finally getting close to becoming final. One of my ex's demands, which I thought was kind of strange, was that I send him all of our physical photos that we had taken together during our lifetimes, which was, almost 35 years, and that he would choose the ones that he wanted to have copies of and get copies made and then send them all back to me. And I thought about that for a hot minute, and it's like, I don't really go through these. I haven't really looked at most of these in years. So I sat down and I went through and I pulled the photos that I was interested in and I scanned them. Now, do I have high quality photographs? No, I have snapshots. And I was A-okay with that because I was doing this to preserve the memories, not because I ever expected to print them or frame them on the wall or any of that kind of stuff. If you've got some that you think are important to do that, then by all means have them professionally scanned at a high resolution that will be reprintable so that you can do that in the future if you ever want to. I just knew that I didn't care about that, and it was an easy way, comparatively, because I scanned over 10,000 photos out of these albums, and there were many, many, many more that I did not scan, so it was a project, let me tell you. But scanning photos is a great way to be able to get rid of the physical thing. And what is it that you have the photo for anyway? Isn't it really just for the memory of whatever you were doing at that particular time in that particular place with those particular people? It's the memory, at least as far as I'm concerned. If you've got a different thought about that, please let me know in the comments down below. What do you keep the photos for? And so having them all digitized and all available across all of my devices, because I'm completely Apple, my phone, my computer, my iPad, all that stuff, it just makes life a whole lot simpler. And as a result, I have a tendency to see and look at those photos much more than I probably ever would have. The other thing that's come as a result of that is, again, on Apple, I don't know how this works on Android, but I have the option to have my screensaver on my phone be from my photos. Now, the only thing I don't like about it is it'll display some photo that I think is really interesting, and I can't remember exactly where or when it was. And I don't have any way to be able to find that exact photo as it's being displayed as my screensaver. I would love it if they upgraded that bit of this. But, otherwise it's pretty cool to see some of this stuff just pop up as my screensaver. So that's photos. But what about other physical things? What about artwork, for example? And, I get this. I have a pastel that was done by an excellent artist that I paid a lot of money for. And I knew that I could not safely bring it with me, even if I had a place to put it, because I wouldn't be handling it correctly and it would just deteriorate and my investment in art would go out the window. So it's actually stored with a friend of mine right now. And I think ultimately I'm looking for somebody to buy it. I love the piece of art, but I don't see myself ever settling down again and needing to have that kind of stuff in my life. So looking for a good home. But think about what that piece of art means to you. What's the meaning behind it? And one of my favorite things to do, especially when I was in the big downsizing phase, so I went from a 3,500 square foot house to a under 1,600 square foot house to an RV. And each time I had to do a pretty significant amount of downsizing. And my thought always was, first of all, Marie Kondo's magical art of tidying up thing, does this thing spark joy? And if it does, then my next question to myself is, do I need the physical object? And generally the answer is no. So most often I would just take a picture of it. And now I still have the memory of that thing without having to have the physical object. I can still go back and look at it. I have a photograph of this pastel that I no longer have with me. And I love it. I look at it periodically. It's not the same as looking at the actual piece of art, You don't get the depth and as much contrast and all of that. You don't get it all. I get that. I understand. But it's really about the memories, as far as I'm concerned. So, if you're still in your sticks and bricks and you haven't committed to a date that you're going to be out by, consider taking photographs of those things that you believe you can't part with, and then part with those things. Store them in a closet, store them in your garage, whatever, but get them out of your immediate sight line, and see if you feel like you really need to go look at the physical object, or if looking at the, I don't know if you can hear the creaking, but there's a truck with a trailer over there that's pretty well jackknifed. Interesting thing he's doing. If you feel like you want to get the physical object out from wherever you stored it, try looking at the photograph first and see if that satisfies you. And you may well find that it does. Now, you may find that it doesn't. I'm just giving you some ideas about how to be able to handle this stuff. And we talked about furniture, and the cost of storage is just ridiculous. The cost of storage is really, really high. And it does add an extra level of complexity. I mean, I love the thought that everything I have is with me all the time. I just love that thought. It just simplifies life to such a great extent. So, what else? What are some of the other things? Well, redundancy is a big thing. When I lived in the big house, I had 2 and 3 sets of everything. I had service for 12 in my regular dishes. Actually, service for 16. I had 2 sets of 8. I had service for 24 in Christmas dishes. And I had service for 18 in buffet dishes, like the clear glass plates they're pretty cheap, but I didn't like using paper plates. So I had a lot of dishes. I had a lot of dishes. I had silverware, flatware. I had service for 16. And then and that was my everyday service, and then I had buffet service for 24. That wasn't in the kitchen drawer, it was stored with the rest of the buffet dishes. When I moved into the just under 1,600 square foot house, all of that went. I didn't need any of it. And my decision was that if I ever wanted to be having that many people over for dinner, guess what? We're using paper plates now. I used to think that was absolutely a horrible thing to do. But when I'm having people in my home, I'm doing it to have the experience of being with those people. And the thing that we're eating off of, the utensil, is much less important than the fact that I've got those people. And we're having that experience together. So I hope that makes sense. So get rid of duplicates. I had 2 and 3 sets of measuring cups and measuring spoons, and I used to bake a lot. I had more dishes than you could shake a stick at. I had a double oven and a 6-burner stove with a 2-burner griddle. I didn't need all that stuff. I cook on 1 burner now. That's all I need. It's kind of interesting to look at what you really think you need and then discover what you truly need. And, I can say, and I was watching a video recently where somebody was talking about downsizing and how they were going to miss this and they were going to miss that and they were going to miss the other thing when they move out of their sticks and bricks and into their RV. And I would suggest that if the attitude that you're going with is that you're going to miss this, that, and the other thing, yeah, you are. But if you go at it with the attitude of, oh, I'll no longer need to be concerned about having more than 1 desk area to work in. I'll no longer need to be concerned about all of the jewelry that I've accumulated. I'll no longer need to be concerned about having this big bed. I'll no longer need to be concerned about. That's much more freeing than I'm going to miss. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And I hope you're getting something useful out of this. I'm just trying to give people some ideas about what your life can really be like. I mean, my attitude pretty much always is, when life hands me lemons, I make lemonade. You know, not every day is rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes I have to deal with butterflies. Just kidding. Um, Sometimes things don't go all that well. I have a video coming out soon, or it's already out, I'm not sure which, but my thumbnail is a rubber stamp across fail, 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 fail. Because I just had a day where whatever I did, it wasn't going well. Just wasn't going quite right. But the next day was great. And that's the way I live my life. And that's the way I'd encourage you to live yours. So I hope you got something useful out of this. As always, thank you so much for watching my videos. I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to do that. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. If you think you are, double check to make sure. As always, thumbs up, really appreciated. Comments are always fun. And I will say I'm getting a lot more comments now, and I've had a lot of new subscribers, and I'm super happy about that. But because of all the travel I'm doing, it's taking me a little bit longer to answer comments, but I am still able to answer everybody's comments, so thank you for that. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this time. We will see you next time. Bye for now.